Hi, I'm Bob. This is where I live, the house, and I happen to be in the fruit cellar of my house. I'm below the back cement porch. It's the cold room. When I was little, we had one that was about a third the size, and we used to have a garden, and we used to keep our potatoes and our beets and our carrots in there for the winter. And anyway, but this house has this long, skinny fruit cellar, I guess you could call it, or cold cellar, and it's perfect for my son's art. He's in his 40s now, and he started to paint when he was 2. He had an easel, and he had paints, and he was serious about it. And so we saved most of his work, most of it, and he's the kind of person that never throws anything out. So you'll see that there's a few of his paintings still here that he once in a while takes and displays at different galleries, and then he brings them back and stores them here if no one buys them. And I managed to get this is a cement floor, and sometimes it even leaks in here. And I've got a hole in the floor for the water, but I got some of these pallets that are nice and sturdy, and they're up off the ground, and the paintings are sitting in an organized fashion in this room. And at one point, I thought maybe I should put some of his art, since I'm his father, I should put some of his art on the walls in the house. So I would, make a hook or a nail in the wall, and I'd hang his art in the different rooms. And then the next thing I'd know, it would be gone. And I'd say, "Where's the art?" And he'd say, "Well, it's at a show someplace, and somebody's bought it." And I'm going, "Oh." Then I'd come down here and get another piece and stick it on the wall. And then I got tired of doing that, so I said, "Okay, I'm going to buy 10 of my favorite pieces. I'll give you $10,000. I can't just take them for free because this is, his livelihood." So I paid him money, and I got some of my favorite pieces, and I put them on the wall, and that's where they are today. I'm going to show you some of them. Okay, and so before I start showing you the art that I have in the house, I want to explain to you briefly that my son is an abstract expressionist painter. He's not an abstract impressionist, he's an expressionist. An impressionist person would look at a garden scene with flowers and shrubs and stuff, and then would paint it, and when you looked at it, you'd go, "Oh, that's a garden." I can't really tell where the flowers are and the shrubs and trees, but I know it's a garden. It kind of looks like a garden. That's an impressionist. An expressionist, like my son, he feels a certain thing, and he puts his feelings on the canvas or on the whatever he's painting with. This happens to be a board. So these are his feelings. And you look at it and you go, "What on earth is it?" It just looks like he spilled paint on there. Here's another one. What is it? How about this one? What is it? Which way does it go? And he knows what it is. That's all there is to it. And sometimes you might look at something that he's painted and go, "Oh, I know what it is. It's a little creature. Maybe it's a frog or an elephant or something." Might not be that at all. It's an impression of something that he's feeling.
There's the artist.
What?
You want to say anything?
About what?
We're going on an art tour.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, of your house, which is mainly your art. So
Yeah.
I would expect that you have something to say about art. Why do you like art?
Why do I
He
like it?
was just talking about how you take your feelings and throw them on the canvas.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I guess that's what I do.
Is it therapeutic for you?
I mean, it's more of an OCD thing.
Oh.
It's like you're compelled to do it. It's like a
Compelled to create.
like some people kind of bite their nails and stuff like that.
You paint.
I just take a brush and kind of gouge at a board and stuff like that.
You make some pretty cool stuff from
I
that.
don't know. Some people might say it's not cool. They might be like, that's, I don't know what this
Well,
is.
that's art, isn't it?
Come on over here, I want him to show
Everyone
you.
has their own
There's one in
interpretation.
the other room I want him to show you. It's the furnace room.
Wait, first of all, Grandpa, what are you wearing?
Oh, I'll tell you about that later.
Okay.
Let's go.
Well, I don't know why you're getting me to tell her about this
Well,
one, but-
you painted it.
Yeah, you told me to paint it. It's a copy of, is it Van Gogh or
Yeah.
something like that?
Mhm.
Self-portrait of Van Gogh, and you wanted a copy so that you like having copies kicking around, right?
I like I like the Mona Lisa's.
Yeah, you want me to
painting.
paint the Mona Lisa at
I
one
like
point?
Jackson Pollock stuff. I like
Yeah.
The Mona Lisa?
No, and I like Van Gogh, and I like Rembrandt, and so if I see something they did and I ask him to paint it, and he paints it, I pay for it, and it's mine. That Van Gogh, Vincent Van Gogh, was Dutch, and he lived around 850. He painted about 2,100 paintings, and most of them were painted in the last 10 years of his life. And he lived to quite an old age, but he painted 2,100 paintings. He was an impressionist, expressionist, abstract kind of guy too. More of a expressionist like Dave than an impressionist. Although maybe not, because you can tell that that's a guy, I think, and you can tell that the guy's sitting in some kind of a chair. But it's supposed to be a self-portrait of himself, and he's painted a lot.
I think it's maybe not a Van Gogh.
Well, what do you think? Who do you think it is?
Picasso.
Picasso. Yes, it could be Picasso
Yeah, so
too.
Van Gogh didn't live to be old. He killed himself.
Okay,
Picasso
so then,
might have
we'll say it's Picasso. But all
Yeah.
I'm saying is that you can tell what it is, so it's probably an impression rather than an expression.
So how many approximately you think you've painted?
Paintings?
Yeah.
I don't know, like a few hundred.
He painted a lot, and he sold a lot, and he still paints, right?
Sometimes.
Well, you painted a
Yeah, I've been
portrait.
doing some portraits for people.
Yeah, it might be a portrait of a person or a portrait of one of their pets. And of course he charges, but he's very reasonable. So if you wanted to get a hold of him, how would anybody get a hold of you?
Oh, I don't know. Just email.
How do it?
What's the email?
My email?
Yeah.
I mean, if they've should I say my email right now?
Yes, to say they wanted to get a hold of you.
Just call 519-208-8680.
What do they live in Europe?
International phone plans exist. You can just call me.
Okay, what's the phone number again?
Phone number again is 519-208-8680. That's right to my cell phone. Like, hi.
That's a Canadian
Going
number.
straight to it.
Canadian number.
That's a Canadian
That's
number.
You might get people texting you just cause.
People, scammers and all
wanna
sorts of
talk.
psychopaths text me right now, so I'm ready for whoever's going to call
Okay.
me.
All right.
Lots of paintings, but come on, I haven't got all
Okay.
the-
What? You don't go in here? There's
No,
no.
I'm not ready to go in there.
Is this-
Come on. Film the one behind you.
Who's that? It's you.
You see how I look like that guy in the chair? Anyway, at one point I wanted him to paint a picture of me so I could share the painting with all the people at the gym where I work. I teach people fitness. So I thought, hey, I could promote his art with all these people by having him paint a portrait of me, and then I'll invite them to my house for a big party, and I'll have the unveiling. I'll have this covered up, with a big sheet, and then we'll have the party, and then we'll unveil it. I sat for a few hours in his studio that he used to have. He doesn't have it anymore, but he had a studio across town. I sat in the studio and he painted me, but I never ever looked at the painting. So when he finally was ready to let me have it, and he put it on the wall, he covered it up. I invited all the people. They came and we ate and drank and had a good time, and then we unveiled it. And when I saw it, I thought, oh my God, is that really me? Right now I'm almost 80. I was about 50 there. I look like I was 80. So his expression of me is, first of all, or impression, you can tell it's me, well, I think. I don't know, there's a lot of emotions inside that, and that's his perception of me. And then I thought, I kept looking at this canvas. It's such a big canvas with me up in the corner and then all these colors and blackness. I know what I'll do. I'll have him add his mother, my wife, I'll have him add her to it. He's got lots of room. Why doesn't he just stick her image right there? So he said, okay, and then he painted his mother, and there she is up in the corner.
Oh wow, she's coming through the.
Yes, but he
Coming
had
through the fold.
he had such a big space to put her, and he made her tiny. She looks terrified, and I thought, is that his impression or expression of his mother and his father? Yes, I love it. It sits there, and it hasn't moved in years, and I don't plan on ever moving it. I like it right where it is. I don't want to frighten the cat, but she'll run into the bed. Right, Twyla? Okay. So when I was really little, I lived next to my grandmother, and I spent a lot of time at her house. And she couldn't have been nicer. She gave me money to buy candy, and we used to sit on her Muskoka chairs on her front lawn and eat fudge sticks and drink pop and ate lots of popsicles, and so maybe that's why I loved her so much. Anyway, and then she would go with me fishing, and we would stand on the bridge out in the country. It was all countryside, and the brook was flowing through, and this was all late at night, around 11 o'clock at night, and we would stand there and put our fishing poles over the edge of the bridge, let the worm float around in the water and try to catch a fish. But we did this at 11 o'clock at night. I went with her, and I really didn't want to catch any fish or eat any of this stuff floating around the streams. But we had a good conversation every time we went, and we did a lot of fishing in May because that's trout season. But she always used to say to me when I went home, when I lived next door, she'd stick her head out the screen door and she'd yell, "See you tomorrow." And I'd go, "Okay." And a lot of times I slept over at her house too. And so her name was Doll, D-O-L-L. Her real name was Violet May. I named my cat after her, who's now hiding under my bed because my cat's afraid of company, afraid of people. So anyway, but this is Doll, and I asked my son, I said, you know what, I don't have a painting of Doll, but I have a picture, a little tiny old picture, photograph. So he said, well, I'll paint a picture of Doll, and how big do you want it? I said, about big enough to go in this space. So he painted it. It's one of my favorite paintings, and that's who it is. And every night when I sleep in this room, I look at her, and I have great memories of how my childhood was really a lot of fun. I want to talk about this painting down here. The reason it's on the floor is because I've run out of room on my wall. I haven't got any more room on the walls. I need a bigger house, or I don't know what I need. All I know is that this painting is one of my favorites. This happens to be my son Dave Fox, F-O-X. He calls himself Dave Timberwolf. He calls himself Young Coconut because he's a musician and a visual artist. So he writes music and performs it, and he plays all the instruments, and he puts it all together with his computer, and he puts it on Spotify or wherever you stick music. So his name is Young Coconut sometimes too. This painting here, well, he met this girl from, where is it? The famous city across the ocean, I forget. Anyway, he met her online and started talking to her for about a year, and the next thing you know, she came over here to Canada, stayed with us in this house. She stayed for about 2 months, and then she went back, and she wanted him to go back, and he went back to this country. It's a famous city somewhere. It'll come to me. Over by India. He went over there, and she wanted to get married, and she wanted him to live in that country where she was born and have children and all the rest of it. And he said, no, I'm going to live in Canada. So he came back here. She stayed over there. Anyway, while they were here, he took her to this beach that we like to go to. It's called Sabo Beach, and it's on Lake Huron, one of the Great Lakes north of Toronto, Ontario. And it's a great place to go swimming in the summer. So he took her up there, and he took her to this great restaurant. He likes to drink coffee and smoothies and stuff. He took her there. I took a picture of the two of them sitting at the restaurant. And then he saw the picture and thought, you know what? She's gone. I'll still talk to her maybe, but I'm not going to be living over there where she lives. That's the end of her. I said, well, paint the picture of the two of you together. That one. Does he title the paintings? No. And sometimes if he does, he'll write on the back of them. If the paintings are made out of canvas, he'll write on the back. And sometimes if they're made out of wood, he'll write on the back. He does have his name down there, Dave Fox. He's got some writing here that he's got over, but that really doesn't have anything on it. It doesn't say when he did it. Doesn't say anything like that. It doesn't
need a title.
Doesn't need a title, but you know, sometimes people like titles. Like if you had a loved one and you wanted Dave to paint a portrait of your dog or your cat or your bird or your wife or your kid, he would do that, and he's very reasonable. You could contact him, he'd paint it, and he'd ship it to you anywhere you live in the world. He can do it in any style you want. He just likes to be an expressionist. That's an abstract impression painting. You know it's people. You know, you don't know if it's a building behind them or what's wrong with the sky or what are these rabbits down here on the table? And I don't know. But you can tell it's a person and he's drinking something, coffee with a straw. So first of all, here's a self-portrait of my son. He's a singer. He was in several bands in his lifetime. He's only 46, but anyway. But he didn't paint his own picture. His mother painted it. I said, I need a picture of you, Dave. Paint your own self-portrait. And he said, I will, and I'll show you that painting. But in the meantime, his mother said, let me try to paint my son. So she took a picture of him when he was performing in a nightclub with singing, and then she painted that.
I didn't know that Grandma paints too.
Yes, Grandma does paint. And then, by the way, if you look at this is me and my wife. This is David's mother. This is what she looks like. David painted us. There we are together. We were in Florence, Italy. We went to Florence, Italy to go to the Uffizi Art Gallery to see all the famous paintings that they have there. We were standing on the bridge, the romantic bridge in the city, and somebody took our picture, so we brought it home and he painted us. There it is. Why did we go to the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy? To see that painting right behind you.
Oh.
Yes, that's the Medusa.
Didn't you paint this?
I painted it. I thought that's one of my favorite all-time paintings. It's super famous. It's sitting, if you can believe it, this is how big it is. It's sitting in a little glass dome in the Uffizi Gallery. It's the last thing after you follow through the whole gallery and look at all the famous paintings. Before you leave the building, they got this Medusa painting in a little glass dome, and it's about this big, and it's sitting there. And so I took a picture of it, and then I painted it. Didn't know what to do with it, so I stuck it on the wall here in the spare bedroom. He didn't paint that.
No, he
His
didn't.
cousin painted it. That's our house from the outside with our cat on the roof. And that's David's cousin. And she's about his age, and she painted it.
Artists
Let's
everywhere.
go.
Here, here's your favorite hole.
You get the, I guess the cat's gonna get that.
Yes, she is.
So Dave not only paints, but he sketches and he writes poetry and writes all kinds of stuff, and he's got a diary. This, I thought, was one of his paintings. He sells t-shirts, and you can take one of your favorite paintings that Dave did and put it onto a t-shirt and have it delivered to your house. So I thought that this was a painting, but he tells me it's a sketch. And I just like the way it looks, but I have a few other t-shirts that I purchased from him that are paintings. Anyway, it says at the bottom, geeks. What does it say?
Appropriate for anybody.
Oh yeah, appropriate for anybody. In front of it, there's the back of it.
Sketch, you said?
It's from one of my sketchbooks, yeah.
Do you remember what was written underneath there?
I write a poem that I'd like kind of write over top of the poem. So it's like take the letters and just like change them into shapes and stuff. So if I didn't like a poem, I would just like draw over it.
You have a full line?
I did at some point. I took it down off the market. It's too complicated running a t-shirt line and doing it all at once.
You just want to focus on the making of the art.
Yeah, I like making the t-shirts, but yeah, running the t-shirt store, it's not like to advertise it and stuff or whatever. I wasn't focused on that at that time. But I can refocus on it
At any time. Anybody want a shirt?
Anytime anyone wants a shirt.
I don't know if you can see this one.
Nice. It's fine, I can see it enough.
Okay, this one's not finished.
Oh, your bathroom. Oh, Mandy, wow.
So in here, wait till I flush the toilet. So here's a picture of David's sister, Amanda, from Human 2.0 or Human Home channel. And she's about 10 years older than he is. We didn't have any pictures of her or any paintings of her, so I painted that one.
What's your style as an artist?
I'm not trying to get my feelings out, so I'm not an expressionist. I'm not an impressionist. I just paint.
You just paint.
And I don't have a style because I'm not really a painter. But this one here he painted of the lady in the swimsuit here. That's one of my all-time favorites.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you might think that this white blob here is a mistake, or you might think, where's her face? Is her head down and her hair's in it? Or where's her other arm? Or you might go, I guess it looks like a girl with a bikini on. I guess she's at the beach. Who knows? So that's an expressionist, impressionist painting. Again, his feelings about the beach. This one over here, I wanted another painting of his mother, besides the little painting of his mother in my big portrait that I showed you where she looked scary. I wanted another painting. So he didn't know what to paint, and I said, well, she likes to ride her bike. She likes to wear a helmet. We ride bikes together. David and myself and my wife here, Sue, we ride bikes together every day in the good weather, and we go for miles and miles and miles up and down hills. So this is her new bike she got, and that's her, and that's what she looks like when she's on her bike, kinda, right? She doesn't think she's very pretty. And she doesn't like her hair anymore because it's thin and she's getting older and she's losing it. She brushes her that falls out as you age. And so she's got her sunglasses on and her helmet to hide herself. Got mitts on. David put her in this outfit. She normally wouldn't dress that way. Some kind of a fox on a little tricycle here at the back. What I like about the painting are the wheels. This one looks like it's super extra big because she has bigger tires on her bike. But the back wheel looks like half of it's missing. I just like the composition of it. He painted the background black so she would stand out. She likes nature and trees and animals and stuff. So he had all that in the background going on, and you couldn't even find her in the painting. I said, get rid of all that. Just paint it black or white and just put her in the foreground. So that's a painting he did of her. And then we have a cat that we've had for 8 years. It's a rescue cat. Remember, she was named after my grandmother. And so he painted our black cat over here, and this is the black cat, Twyla May. That's where it sits. These are his too, of course, but this one over here is probably the best that he's ever done. Is this one right here? So the story of this was he was in university and he had to paint a picture. So he painted this, and then the teacher wanted him to tell her what it's called, and he said it's called "Have I Got a Disease for You?" And she said, "Well, you got to change the title. Otherwise, I'm not putting it in the art show at the university." And he said, what do I do? And I said to him, you bring the painting home and you don't let your teacher get a hold of it, because nobody tells an artist what to do, especially what to call it. So she had no right to do that. So I bought it from him and stuck it on the wall. And it's one of my all-time favorites that he did. There it is. Have I Got a Disease for You? Now, guess what? What do you think it's made out of?
Looks like rock, I guess.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? We were downtown Toronto years and years ago, and they were having an art show on the street, and I saw that hanging on the fence. It was $200. I bought it because I thought it was rock. No, it's made out of rubber.
No way.
And the artist said, you better keep it out of the sun, because if it gets warm, it'll start to change shapes. So
it looks still good.
yeah, it's beautiful. So we put it there. It's been there for about 35 years. Yeah, art. Remember I told you about the art that's in the cold cellar or the fruit cellar? Well, a lot of that stuff has been on the wall too. The stuff that I showed you today, I actually own it, so he can't take it off the wall. It's mine. I do what I want with it. But look at those two behind you. Like they're my favorites too. I don't even know what they're about. I just like them. And David did a lot of drip painting. Not only did he paint, and he used acrylic more than oil. Most of it's acrylic. It dries quickly. And what he would do is he'd paint something like this, and he'd paint maybe a boat. He's got a big, huge airplane downstairs. But he'd paint, say, a boat, and he'd work on it for a month. Like every day for a month, he'd be painting this boat. And then the next day you'd go down and you'd in his studio downstairs, and you'd say, have you got the boat done? And he'd say, yep. And you'd look at it, the boat would be gone, and it might be a forest scene or something. And I said, where's the boat? Oh, underneath the other one. It's underneath the forest. And the boat was put there on top of the cat. He just keeps putting a painting on top of a painting. Every time he feels the emotion about something, he puts the painting there. And then he sometimes stood back and like Jackson Pollock, he would throw water and paint at the canvas. So you get the drip effect. A lot of people don't like that, but I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
That's got a lot of the drip effect in it. I don't know what that's called. I just like that. Haven't really even studied the composition too much. Just like it. So anyway, art. I'm just not. We have, as I said, I've painted, and my wife paints, and my daughter, she paints. In fact, she painted something I've got in this house. Anyway. Yeah, I just thought of the one in the bedroom where David and the girl from some country over by Africa, she was from Istanbul, Turkey, in Turkey. Yeah, and then I find, you see this little Mona Lisa one here? It's just a thrift store painting. The Mona Lisa, that only cost me 50 cents. And I don't know if you know this, this is February 2024. It was just in the paper last week. Somebody went into the Louvre in Paris and threw paint on the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, I saw that story, but it was protected, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure it was like protected behind
I've
something.
been there and I've looked at the Mona Lisa, and there's no cage around it.
It was soup.
Soup, was it soup?
Not a cage, like it had like plastic over it.
They have glass over it?
Yes.
Well, I hope so. There are paintings like Jackson Pollock. He's the guy who lived in the 1940s, 50s in the United States. And he's the one who, his canvases were really large, and he would stand back and he would run at the canvas with paint in his hands and on his body, and he'd just throw it at the canvas. Or he would put the canvas on the floor and he'd get a big, huge ladder and he'd stand at the top of the ladder with paint and he'd just throw the paint down on the canvas. So his paintings are worth, I don't know, maybe 300 or 400 million each. That's how famous he is. And he's like the father of abstract art. But if you look him up, Jackson Pollock, Pollock, and his wife was a painter too, but he went crazy, of course, and he painted a lot of paintings, and then he'd throw them in the dumpsters and just get rid of them, and people would pick them up, you see, and try to sell them, and then they didn't know whether they were originals. But the thing was that a lady who in the United States, she lived in New York City, and she was a truck driver, and she was about 75, and she had to buy a present for her friend. So she went to a thrift store and she bought this painting, and she paid $5 for it. And when she got home, her 50-year-old son said, "Where'd you get that? That looks like a Jackson Pollock painting." And she said, "Honey, I've never even heard of Jackson Pollock. I just liked the painting. It was $5. I'm going to give it to my friend for her birthday." So he said, "Oh, no, you can't do that. We're going to go and get an expert to look at it." There's a YouTube video of this story, and it's a true story. She hired the best art people in the world look at it to try to figure out whether it was a Jackson Pollock. And finally, somebody wanted to give her like $100 million for it, and she refused to sell it. So she rented a studio in New York City somewhere. She put the painting on an easel in this room and shut all the lights off and locked the door and left it there for 10 years. She didn't want anyone to know where it was, and she wasn't selling it for $100 million. So finally she sold it and got more than that 10 years later, and off the painting went. But they discovered by analyzing her painting that Jackson Pollock had the drips and the splats, the same patterns in all of his painting.
How does he do that?
Yes.
Just like,
How would he do that? And they analyzed it right with a microscope, and they knew it was a Jackson Pollock for lots of reasons. And anyway, so that's the story of Jackson Pollock. Well, I like Jackson Pollock so much that my wife and I went to Buenos Aires, is the capital city of Argentina in South America. Went there just to go to the museum, just to see an original Jackson Pollock. And it was sitting on the wall in the museum, and there was no guard around it, there was nothing covering it. It was just a painting hanging on the wall.
what do you like about him?
The
His
way
style, so
the
unique?
way he painted, he was known as an aerobic painter. So he would actually put all of his energy into running at the canvas or throwing stuff at the canvas, like an aerobic workout. And to think that they all had the same patterns.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh my God. And he was crazy, of course, and an alcoholic, and I think he killed himself.
Sometimes you're art, you know?
Yeah, whatever, eh? So we collect things like that one. That was Susan's great-grandfather's painting. Generations handed down, and she got it, and there it is. What is it, the Tower of London? The big
That
one or
was
something?
popular at the time. They used to put Mother of Pearl
In the
in
painting.
somewhere in the painting, and this is a good illustration.
What's Mother of Pearl? It's like a...
Yeah, an iridescent type of, like a